I never imagined that locking him in would lead to an unbelievable fortune. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It was a rainy afternoon, the kind of day that seeps into your bones. As the droplets drummed against the window, I sat in my cluttered living room, heart racing. I glanced at the clock. My brother, Jake, was late. But late wasn't the word. He was supposed to be home an hour ago. My fingers trembled as I dialed his number. Straight to voicemail. Panic crashed over me like a tidal wave. That's when I remembered the ominous words from that old tarot reader at the fair. Beware the lock, my dear. It holds power you cannot fathom. Her haunting voice echoed in my mind, and chills skittered down my spine. What had Jake gotten himself into? Jake was always chasing something: adventure, thrill, fortune. I loved him for it. But these days, his hunt had twisted into something darker, something I couldn't wrap my head around. There were whispers of secret meetings, locked doors, and hidden items from a time I thought we'd left behind. I couldn't shake the images. Suddenly, the front door creaked open. I sprang to my feet, heart pounding like war drums. There he was, face pale, hair matted with rain. The moment our eyes met, I knew. Something had happened. Where were you? I demanded, my voice shaking. Just helping a friend, he stammered, avoiding my gaze. I have something to show you. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, rusted key. I found this, he whispered, holding it out like it was the most precious thing in the world. A chill ran through me. The key was old, maybe belonging to a place we'd left behind, a home I still grieved. What does it open? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Something we never finished, Jake said, urgency tinging his words. Something that could change everything for us. My chest tightened. The air felt heavy with unspoken secrets as I studied his face, desperate to believe him. With a sudden rush of determination, I said, let's go. He hesitated, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. I could feel his fear, a raw and palpable entity that crawled between us. Are you sure? He countered, uncertainty lacing his tone. I nodded. We had to face this together. Within minutes, we were outside, the rain easing to a mist. I could smell the earth, rich and alive. Every heartbeat echoed as we walked toward our old neighborhood. The memories flooded back: laughter, fights, dreams. But with each step, dread coiled in my gut. When we finally reached the abandoned house, moonlight splashed across the peeling walls. It looked like a forgotten ghost, but to us, it held our past. Jake inserted the key with shaky hands. It clicked. The door creaked open, revealing darkness. My heart pounded a furious rhythm, fueled by both anticipation and fear, as I stepped inside. The stench was overwhelming. Dust, decay. As we navigated through the wreckage, I felt something shift in the air. A flicker of light caught my eye. I approached it, each step heavy, my breath shallow. There it was, a chest, ornate and ancient, tucked under the floorboards. I gasped, my hand trembling as I brushed away the dirt. This was it. Jake held his breath beside me. Open it, he urged, excitement slipping into his words. I gripped the latch, heart hammering, when suddenly a loud crash echoed from outside. The door slammed shut, and we were plunged into chaos. Dark shapes loomed outside the windows. Their breath fogged the glass like ghosts. I could feel their eyes, hungry and searching. Who are they? I whispered, fear clenching my throat. Jake looked at me, anguish etched on his face. I don't know, he breathed. But I think we might have unleashed something we shouldn't have. We need to leave, but something inside me shifted. The chest, the fortunite, felt within reach. Not yet, I whispered, indecision twisting in my gut. Could we really risk everything for a chance at the unimaginable? My fingers brushed the chest's surface, and for a moment, I hesitated. The pounding on the door grew louder, desperation clawing at my heart. What? Had we awakened? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the echoes of the crashing outside intensified, my heart dropped into my stomach. The sound was a cacophony of primal urgency, the kind that made every instinct in my body scream to flee. But we stood there, frozen, our fate hinged upon a simple latch and the weight of our choices. "Jake," I gasped, "we have to do something." My voice quivered as uncertainty and fear clawed at my resolve. The shadows outside twisted like angry spirits, their intentions as dark as the night around us. He stepped closer, desperation lacing his words. "If we stay here, we'll die trying to find whatever is in that chest. We need to find a way out first." His eyes flickered between the door and the chest, torn between the thrill of potential wealth and the terror of the unknown, yet, even in the face of danger, I felt an irresistible pull towards the chest. What was locked away inside? My thoughts raced, remembering the tales of hidden treasure that could change lives, stories Jake and I had made up as kids, spun from our wildest dreams. Suddenly, a wooden plank splintered outside, sending shards scattering into the air, grounding me back in reality. "They're coming!" I hissed, and instinctively, my fingers clutched the latch tighter. Time seemed to stretch, a moment suspended between possibility and peril. "Please, let's just go," Jake begged, the urgency settling in his tone once more, but I could see the flicker of excitement in his eyes too, battling against fear. With a deep breath, I gave in to the impulse that had been steering me. I threw the latch open, the lid creaked as I lifted it, revealing a collection of old trinkets, dusty parchment, and ancient coins that glinted in the faint light like stars hidden in a forgotten sky. My breath caught in my throat as I realized that this was not merely a chest, it was our history, fragments of lives once lived, and possibly pieces we could use to defend ourselves against whatever was scouting for us outside. But amongst the golden coins, a small leather-bound book sat nestled, waiting for me. I reached out and thumbed through its pages filled with delicate handwriting and sketches, each one a clue, a story of our family and the key that Jake held so tightly. It was as if the universe had conspired to bring it to me in this moment of chaos. "Look at this, Jake," I exclaimed, my voice brimming with a mixture of excitement and disbelief. The book detailed the past owners of the house, each with secrets intertwined with its walls, tales of loss, love, and hidden truths. Was this why the shadows were drawn to the chest? Did they guard the secrets of our lineage with an insatiable vigor? A loud crash jolted me from my reverie as Jake grabbed my arm, pulling me back to reality. "We have to decide, now. Do we take this or leave? We choose the past or we choose to survive." It felt like a choice between standing witness to the echoes of our family and risking our lives for the chance to unravel the legacy they left behind. A future cloaked in wealth and knowledge danced alluringly in my mind as instinct screamed to escape. "Jake, wait!" I yelled, sensing the pull from deeper within the book as the wind howled outside. "What if there's more here? What if we can understand them? Find a way to confront whatever is out there?" He shook his head vehemently. "Or it could destroy us. They'll break through any second. We don't even know what we've unleashed." As if on cue, a final kick sent the door rattling in its frame, and the shadows surged forward, a flood of dark rage. A primal instinct overwhelmed me couldn't leave empty-handed. Not now, not when we were so close to reclaiming our past. With newfound determination, I shoved the book deep into my bag, ignoring my brother's protests. "We take it. We learn from it. It might just be the key to surviving this nightmare," just as I took the first step towards the back door, the ancient wood splintered under the assault of unseen beings. The moment of realization hit. They weren't just random threats, they were drawn here, breathing in the air around us, hungry for the darkness that was stirred by our actions. They wanted the chest, they wanted us. That we need to go, now. I screamed, my heart racing as I shoved past Jake toward the back exit, adrenaline surging like a potent spark. I could feel the very fabric of our fate unraveling in that moment. As we burst through the back door into the dim alley behind the house, the shadows drew closer, malice embedded in their pursuit. We broke into a sprint, our lungs burning, fear driving us forward. I dared not look back, but I could hear the relentless chaos echoing on our heels, a reminder of the danger lingering just beyond the veil of light, and in that desperate moment, an unexpected sound stopped me. A voice, as clear as the stars that felt so far away, called out from the depths of the alley, "You shouldn't have unlocked that." I turned, catching a glimpse of a figure cloaked in shadows looming ahead. The air was thick with an aura of power and fear. My heart raced, knowing we were no longer just running from whatever was after us, we had tapped into something far more complex, unraveling secrets that maybe should have remained protected. And with that final revelation, a new tremor of uncertainty coursed through Muhad. If we had truly unlocked something that could consume not just Jake and me, but our entire lineage, the shadows beckoned again, but now, a new vulnerability emerged. We were no longer just on the run, we were entangled in a legacy that could shape the world around us, one we might not be ready for. The alley closed in around us, the oppressive darkness swallowing the flickering light of our desperation. Jake stood frozen beside me, eyes wide with a mix of fear and anger as he processed the stranger's words. My heart pounded against my ribcage, a frantic drumbeat competing with the chaos behind us. "What do you mean?" I called out, desperation lacing my voice. "Who are you?" The figure stepped closer, revealing a face partially obscured by the hood of a tattered cloak. A flicker of recognition sparked inside me, but it extinguished almost as quickly as it appeared. "You've awakened ancient forces that were meant to remain undisturbed." Their voice was like gravel, heavy with foreboding. "That chest, it contained truths far darker than any fortune you can imagine." I felt a chill creep down my spine, prickling at the edges of my resolve. "But," I sputtered, "we didn't mean to disturb anything. We were just searching for answers." They interrupted, an edge of irony slicing through their tone. "Or perhaps, seeking a fate that was never meant for you." Behind us, the crashing sounds persisted, the shadows threatening to spill into the alley. I caught a glimpse of Oni, tendril of darkness reaching out, desperate and wild, like a hand reaching for light it could never grasp. Panic surged anew. "We need to go." I urged Jake, but he seemed captivated by the stranger, entranced by a mix of fear and curiosity. "Wait. If you know something, please tell us." Jake pleaded, stepping forward with a tone that conveyed a deeper trust than I felt. The figure hesitated, their expression indecipherable in the dim light. "There are risks that come with knowledge. What you possess in that book has a price." Jake's eyes flickered towards me, questions swimming in their depths. I felt the weight of the ancient leather-bound book pressing heavily in my bag, the echoes of those scattered tales intertwining with the heartbeat of our family. What was waiting to be uncovered? What could it reveal about the very forces chasing us? Against the backdrop of our desperate plight, a flicker of courage ignited within me. "If there's a price, well, pay it," I declared, surprising even myself with the conviction in my voice. My heart raced not just with fear anymore, but a determination to understand our past and the shadows that haunted us. The stranger's gaze softened momentarily, a flicker of something that resembled sorrow crossing their features. "Sometimes, what you seek is not a treasure but a curse. The book holds knowledge, but knowledge can shatter lives. Is there a way to seal it again?" I asked quickly, a new focus emerging as shadows snarled behind me. "Well, return it, we just want to survive." The figure studied me, weighing my words against the swirling chaos around us. "You seek to seal away what time unlocked. You cannot. The choice you made has consequences that ripple through generations." before I could respond, there was a thundering crash at the end of the alley, and a burst of shadow surged forward, a wave of malevolence. Jake and I exchanged a frantic glance. There was no going back. Then how do we fight them? I asked, an urgency coursing through my veins. The stranger took a step closer, a finger raised as if to offer wisdom, but their expression shifted, a warning sinking into their features. Before the dawn breaks, you must place the book where its last owner laid his final rest. Only then may the secrets contained within reveal a path for you to walk unharmed. Where? I pressed, adrenaline twinging in urgency. No time to explain, it lies beneath, they said, gesturing toward the ground. Follow the ley lines, which intersect here in this realm. But be quick, the shadows are drawn to your light. I glanced at Jake, resolute fear etched on his face as we processed the stranger's cryptic advice. There was no longer a choice. Our only option was to plunge deeper into the unknown, into a world that held the key to unraveling our fate. We sprinted past the cloaked figure, following what felt like an instinct, an ethereal pull guiding our steps. The shadows surged behind us, now more alive, swirling like a tempestuous storm. Each heartbeat echoed like a closing door, reminding us of the urgency that clawed at our heels. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath me, and I stumbled, nearly losing my balance. A faint glow pulsed beneath the pavement, the ley lines illuminating for a brief moment before vanishing. There! I shouted, pointing at the shimmer breaking through the cracked earth. As we approached the glowing spot, terror bubbled in my stomach. If this was indeed where the last owner of the book had found peace, what awaited us in the depths? Could we truly trust a destiny spun from shadows, intertwined with our family's legacy? Just as I reached to pry open the earth, a dark silhouette surged ahead of Yuson. Of the shadows had broken free, faster than the others, its form more defined, malevolent intent glistening in its abyssal eyes. Run! Jake yelled, plunging into the depths of the alley just as the figure lunged forward, jaws snapping inches from his heels. Instinct took over as we stumbled over bricks and stones, following the uncharted path that felt both alien and eerily familiar, and when the darkness howled behind us, I had to wonder what terrifying truths awaited us beneath our feet. Was the knowledge that could save us the key that drowned an entire lineage in sorrow? With each drawing breath, the light of realization dimmed, and the shadows loomed ever closer. The world around us felt as if it were collapsing in on itself, the shadows now a living, breathing entity, lurking and waiting for a moment of weakness. Every anguished breath we took echoed in the narrow confines of the alley, my heart racing in rhythm with the frantic pounding of my feet against the pavement. I could hear Jake's rapid breaths beside me, his fear palpable, but there was something else lurking beneath. Determination mingled with panic, urging us forward into the unknown. Over here! I shouted, gesturing to a jagged hole in the ground, illuminated by the faint glow that burst forth like a beacon of hope and dread. With shaky hands, I began to clear away the debris, my nails scraping against the rough stone, breath catching in my throat as I imagined what lay beneath. My fingers touched the cool surface of the earth, and as if responding to my presence, the glow flickered again, brighter than before. Are you sure about this? Jake's voice trembled, and I could sense the conflict gnawing at him, the battle between reason and instinct. What if going down there just leads us deeper into trouble? I held his gaze, a wave of empathy washing over me amidst our shared terror. He looked so young, the weight of the world pressing on his shoulders, and I felt the weight of my own indecision rising like a tide. We have to try. If there's even a chance it could lead us to the answers we need, we can't turn back now. But as I spoke, a deep, guttural growl erupted from the shadows behind us, an ominous reminder that our time was dwindling. With a swift motion, I grabbed Jake's hand, pulling him towards the hole. Help me! I pleaded, urgency lacing my voice as I fought to shove my fear aside. Together, we pulled aside the last remnants of the crumbled earth, revealing a narrow passage that descended into darkness. The light beckoned us, a soft pulse emanating from the depths, a siren's call of safety mingled with danger. We're not alone. Jake murmured, his eyes scanning the shadows, visibly unsettled. He was right, even in this moment of urgency, I felt a presence watching us, lurking just beyond the veil, eager for what we might uncover. Before I could respond, my foot slipped, and without warning, I tumbled down into the hole, pulling Jake along with me. We landed in a heap, breathless and disoriented, surrounded by the damp smell of ancient earth. The faint light flickered again, illuminating the walls of a long-forgotten crypt, its entrance marked by worn carvings that hinted at a long-lost civilization. "This is it," I breathed, awe intertwined with fear. "This must be where they laid the last owner of the book to rest." The air thickened as we crawled further into the darkness, the pulse of light leading us deeper into the crypt like a heartbeat. It felt ancient, almost sacred, yet pulsated with a terrifying energy, as if the very stones exhaled the heavy weight of secrets too profound for mere mortals to grasp. But just as the silence became overwhelming, echoing our hesitance, a sound shattered the stillness, a soft whisper, a breath of wind that shouldn't belong within the confines of these stone walls. "You dare trespass?" I whipped around, instinctively drawing closer to Jake, but nothing could prepare us for who emerged from the shadows. A figure, radiant yet draped in an aura of despair, appeared before us. Their eyes glimmered with an ethereal light, and their lips curved into an expression that was both sorrowful and inviting, a haunting visage of someone who had lived 1,000 lifetimes. "You seek the truth hidden within the tome," the figure said, their voice a melodic chime that resonated with the crypt's chill. "But truths come at a price. Who are you?" I took a step forward, emboldened yet terrified, an instinctual urge to learn and to understand driving me onward. "I am the keeper of what was lost," the figure replied, their gaze piercing through the veil of my fear. "Bound in this realm until those worthy enough find their way back to the light." They gestured toward the faintly glowing book resting on an altar in the center of the crypt, its pages fluttering gently, as if alive. The sight was mesmerizing, yet foreboding. "Will it show us how to seal the shadows?" I asked, urgency seeping back into my voice. I could feel the darkness pressing against the entrance above us, hungry for our fear, our despair. The figure nodded slowly, a somber acknowledgement that cast a heavy shadow over the warmth that had flickered within me. "But it is not a choice for the weak of heart. The journey to understand will awaken what is buried within, and what is awakened cannot be controlled. You may lose more than you gain." I cast a quick glance at Jake, whose face was etched with equal parts fear and hope. Could we truly brave the depths of our family's past? Was this ancient knowledge worth the possible devastation it could unleash? With my heart racing, I stepped forward, grasping Jake's hand tightly. "Well, face it together," I said, voice steady despite the tempest of doubt swirling inside me. No matter what. As I reached for the book, the crypt shuddered, the atmosphere thickening with a fierce intensity, shadows coiling tighter around the entrance of our sanctuary. Just as my fingers brushed against the leather cover, a roaring wind exploded through the crypt, carrying the whispers of the tormented, the shadows drawn irresistibly to our light. "Time is running out," the figure implored. "Unlock the past and claim your fate." I hesitated, caught between the pull of knowledge and the danger it represented. In that moment of uncertainty, the ground beneath us trembled violently and I heard a cry echoing through the crypt. "Run!" Jake shouted as he yanked me back, and instinct propelled us toward the exit, the figure's eerie warnings rolling behind us like thunder. But as we neared the surface, I felt the book tugging at something deep within my bones, a connection I was hesitant to sever. Just as we reached the hole, a dark silhouette surged forward, blocking our escape. In that instant, I realized unraveling the hidden truths could open a door we might not be ready to face. As the chaotic shadows advanced, I knew my decision could change everything, and I was no longer sure if we were running to safety or deeper into darkness. The frantic beat of my heart surged in my throat as I and Jake stood frozen, the chaos swirling in the very air around us. Shadows danced menacingly, eager to ensnare us with their dark tendrils. The figure in the crypt seemed to dissolve into the pulse of despair that filled the space, leaving behind an ominous echo of their warning, a reminder of the choices that lay ahead. "Do we go back?" Jake asked, his voice trembling on the edge of disbelief. "Or do we go forward?" "Forward," I asserted, feeling the weight of my decision settle heavily on my shoulders. "We can't ignore what we found, Jake. Whatever that book holds, we have to face it." Every instinct screamed at me that we stood on the precipice of something monumental, a wave of fate and consequence intertwining in ways we could scarcely imagine. Are you sure? His question was a whisper, but it hung thick between us, heavy with doubt. What if it changes us? What if we can't step back from it? At that moment, I grasped his shoulders firmly, searching his eyes for reassurance. What if what we unlock leads to a way to stop all this? I gestured at the shadows writhing hungrily around us. We're running out of options. Before he could answer, the silhouette blocking our escape shifted, solidifying into a figure more human-like. The air felt colder, as if we stood on the threshold of two worlds. Emerging into the flickering light, we could just make out the features of a gaunt face, hollowed by sorrow yet illuminated by an impossible kindness. I am Mara, the figure said, her voice a whispered melody that soothed the chaos surrounding us. There are parts of this darkness you have yet to understand. Allow me to show you. In her outstretched hand, a brilliant shard of light began to form a tangible piece of hope amidst the despair. It pulsed like a heart, captivating and warm, promising safety amidst our swirling confusion. But be warned, stepping into the light will demand from you not only courage but sacrifice. What kind of sacrifice? Jake asked, stepping reluctantly closer, his fear mingled with curiosity, the light reflecting in his eyes. You may find that what you wish to save is intertwined with what you are willing to let go. Her gaze turned to me, inviting and piercing all at once. In your hearts, you harbor secrets. To uncover the truth set buried in shadows, you must confront your greatest fears. I felt a tremor of recognition, the weight of my own secrets threatening to spill forth like a tide. What had I buried so deeply that it could resurface now, at a moment of crisis? Each heartbeat resonated with uncertainty, and as I glanced at Jake, I saw that same fear reflected in his expression, an unspoken acknowledgement that we were not just battling shadows but grappling with the darker parts of ourselves. It's a choice, a chance, Mara continued. But whether the truth is a gift or a burden depends on your hearts. What binds you to this world of shadows may also liberate you. Will you choose to unlock that door, or will you turn your back on the light and remain hidden in darkness? In that moment, my gaze faltered toward the crypt's depths, where the book now lay, beckoning with a haunting allure, promising answers but threatening chaos. Memories washed over me, a childhood spent running from the very truths that now called to me, the weight of family secrets hidden under the guise of normalcy. I had spent so long trying to be brave, to shield those I loved, but here I was, teetering on the brink of awakening. Jake's hand squeezed mine lightly, as if he felt the tug of the same memories, the shared past that bound us tight. Whatever shadows we confront, we face them together, he promised, grounding me amidst the uncertainty. With resolve forming in the pit of my stomach, I looked back to Mara, offering a determined nod. We're ready, I declared, steeling myself for whatever truth awaited us. As the light swirled around us, embracing our fears with gentle fervor, the crypt trembled again, and suddenly the shadows roared with fury. Too late. They echoed, rising like a tidal wave, dark and turbulent. As if awakened by our commitment to face the light, Jake and I stumbled back, the intensity of the crypt's energy threatening to swallow us whole. In the distance, I could hear the frantic whispers of the shadows, a cacophony of voices spilling out secrets we dared not hear. But just as the shadows loomed closer, a beam of light enveloped Mara, and, at that moment, I saw a deep sadness shadow her ethereal form. The past is a reflection of what you choose to embrace. Choose wisely, for some doors, once opened, may not lead where you wish to go. And with that warning echoing in my mind, the ground shook violently beneath us as a ferocious pulse emanated from the depths of the crypt. I felt the tether of light and shadow pull sharply, a desperate tug-of-war for my soul. As chaos surrounded us, Jake stumbled and fell, his grip on my hand slipping away. No! I screamed, my heart shattering at the sight of him being pulled back, shadows swirling to snatch him into their folds. In that instant, caught between the need to save my friend and the looming secrets waiting for my reach, I realized the true depth of our choices. Perhaps the greatest revelation was that what lay within the shadows was something I had never anticipated, a truth that could bind us together or tear us apart. With a fierce determination surging through my veins, I took a step forward, knowing that to save Jake, I would have to confront not only the shadows around us but the shadows within. What awaited us in the depths may shatter everything I thought I knew. I staggered forward, the shadows clawing at my feet, a raw blend of fear and urgency coursing through my veins. "Jake!" I shouted again, my voice swallowed by the cacophony of dark whispers that churned all around us. Panic surged within me as I watched his desperate struggle against the tendrils of darkness that clawed possessively at his limbs. Help! His voice was strained, a plea that ignited a flicker of resolve inside me. Each heartbeat felt like a drum signaling a countdown against time. I had to act. Mara's form flickered around us, her eyes filled with an understanding that transcended words, but the urgent fraying of time pushed me into action before I could grasp the full weight of what she seemed to imply. I wasn't only fighting for Jake's freedom, this was about the truth I'd buried, the choices I'd made, and the shadows lurking in the depths of my own heart. "Hold on, Jake!" I cried, reaching into the fray, extending my hand unwaveringly towards him. In this moment, I realized that my light would not just combat the darkness, it would expose the truth hidden within the very essence of my fears. Jake's face reflected sheer terror, his eyes darting to the encroaching darkness, creeping closer, wrapping around his waist like a predator. "You can't, you mustn't," he gasped, fear seeping into every syllable. But I didn't falter, his desperation anchored me. "I won't let you go," I shouted, straining against the pull of the shadows as I took another step forward, my hand just brushing against his fingertips. It was then that an unexpected warmth enveloped me. A pulse of light sparked at the center of my heart, as if resonating with the love and memories we had shared, the laughter, the moments that defined us. As my fingertips made contact with his, I felt an electric current surge through our connect. A memory flickered in time. I saw us as children at the old creek, laughing together as we dropped pebbles into the water, dreaming of infinite possibilities. That innocent joy resonated through me, transforming fear into an infallible commitment. The shadows, realizing the bond was strong, recoiled for just a heartbeat, allowing a window of opportunity. In that fleeting moment, I lunged forward, gripping Jake's wrist firmly. "Trust me," with a sudden jerk, I pulled him free of the shadow's grasp. He stumbled toward me, and the moment his other hand clasped mine, a shockwave rippled through the air, illuminating the crypt in a blinding brilliance. Yet the shadows howled in protest, shifting violently as if fighting against a tide. "You cannot escape your destiny," they roared, their voices twisting into recognizable forms. Failed promises, lost dreams, moments where we both lacked courage to face the truth. It was then that the weight of those memories pressed down upon us, each secret now laid bare. The air crackled with tension and energy as the light from our hands surged in response to the shadows' fury, weaving a barrier around us, pushing them back. But within that intense ember of hope, a sudden fear gripped me, an echo of Mara's words. Somewhere in the midst of my fight, I understood each shadow I faced was tethered to the truth I resisted, and behind the promises lay the burden of sacrifice. I faced Jake, whose expression mirrored my realization, saw it too. The question hung in the air, unraveling the flesh of our fears. What truths were we willing to let go to lay bare our desires? What pieces of ourselves would we need to surrender to break free from the shackles of our past? "Are you ready?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. He hesitated, his breath ragged as he processed the enormity of it all. "Ready for what?" "To uncover the truth that's been hidden." The flame of uncertainty flickered in his eyes. "For whatever it means for us." I could feel the shadows inching closer, the memories of our shared past enveloping us in sorrow, but just as doubt swung a heavy fist against our hopes, a glimmering flicker of light swirled around us. Mara's energy seeped back into the scene, illuminating the shadows with a gentle luminance. "You both possess the strength to unlock realms of understanding within yourselves. But the unveiling will come at a cost." A sudden rumble interrupted her transmission. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw the crypt trembling violently, the very ground beneath us cracking like fragile glass. "What's happening?" Jake's voice rose above the chaos. "Time is of the essence." Mara pressed, concern knitting her brow. "You must choose. The more you confront, the more the crypt fights back. Listen to your hearts and embrace the light, or the darkness will pull you in forever." Panic surged anew, the urgency of our decisions pressed on us like a vice grip. I felt the layers of truth beneath my skin heaving and twisting, while the shadows hissed, threatening to engulf us. I closed my eyes for a moment, feeling Jake's presence beside me, grounding me as I turned inward. "We can do this," I murmured, filled with the warmth of shared belief, but then, the ground trembled once more, splitting with a deafening crack that sent me sprawling to my knees. The shadows laughed in victory, their laughter a cruel serenade. You may face the truth, but the shadows bring with them significant loss. A new figure emerged from the depths of the darkness, an image carved from my own memories. It was my Moth-era woman whose image had long dwelled within the comforting fog of my past but had splintered into something painful since her departure. She appeared worn, as if echoing the loss I felt but never truly acknowledged. "Mom?" The word slipped from my lips, laden with confusion and longing. "Face what you've hidden, my child," she whispered, her ethereal form flickering like a dying flame. "Only then will you know the burden you must bear to save the one you love." My heart pounded as I looked at Jake, then back at her figure, an inescapable truth pressing down on me. What was hidden in the light and the shadows now collided as I stood on the precipice of revelation, but as I opened my mouth to speak, the shadows surged forward once more, and a fierce wind blew through the crypt, threatening to pull us apart. "Jonah!" Jake yelled, pulling me closer. In that moment, I had no answers, only the echo of a question that wrapped around us painfully. What price would we have to pay for the secrets long buried? The looming shadows offered no comfort, only the promise of chaos born from uncovering what we had dared not confront. As I looked into Jake's terrified eyes searching for answers, I knew this journey had only just begun, yet the stakes had risen to a fervent peak. The howling darkness enveloped us again, suffocating every breath, every thought. My heart raced, pounding rhythmically against my ribcage as I gripped Jake's hand tighter, drawing strength from our connection, desperately clinging to the hope that was rapidly being eroded by the tempest around us. "Jonah, I can't lose you." Jake's voice cut through the cacophony, but with it came an unmistakable sorrow that wrapped around my heart like a vice, tightening at the thought of not emerging from this alive, not unraveling the truths that shadowed our lives. "Then don't let go," I shouted over the roar of chaos, every word a testament to my determination. My mother's presence flickered in and out, a beacon amidst the looming shadows and my swirling emotions. The melancholic look in her eyes felt like an anchor, yet it was laden with unspoken burdens that reverberated through the air. "Only you can free me, Jonah. The truth will set us all free, but it will also demand a sacrifice." The intensity of her words hung ominously between us, a whisper of condemnation and possibility that paralyzed me. Sacrifice. The word echoed in the crevices of my mind. What could that possibly mean? Who or what would I have to relinquish to find the clarity I craved? The thought of losing Jake was an unthinkable chasm I did not want to confront. In the chaos, a glimmer of resolve flickered within me as I turned to Jake, whose expression wavered between fear and determination. "We need to face this together," I said, my voice softer, yet resolute. "But what does that mean? What do we have to uncover?" His eyes, usually filled with unwavering faith, were clouded with uncertainty, and I realized then that our fight didn't lie solely within this crypt filled with shadow but rather in our own hearts, where truths lay dormant and long suppressed. Before I could offer an answer, the ground trembled violently again. The shadows lashed out like serpents searching for their prey, wrapping around us with an icy grip. "You've disturbed us," they hissed. "You dare to seek the light?" Jake pulled me closer, his presence a reminder of everything I held dear. "Face it," he urged, nearly drowning in anxiety. "We can't let it win." With a sudden surge of adrenaline, I turned my gaze back to my mother's figure, still flickering like an old television set. "What must I uncover?" I shouted, the words breaking free like arrows aimed at the unseen pressures spilling from the darkness. "What do I need to confront?" Her response was soft, almost fragile. "The past is a mirror, Jonah. In uncovering your own truth, you free those who were slain by the shadows, myself, and even perhaps your father." The revelation hit me like a thunderclap. My father, a specter of my childhood I had long buried beneath layers of denial and hurt, emerged painfully into focus. I had chased shadows for so long, believing his absence was merely a consequence of life. But the truth taunted me, revealing that survival meant grappling with his departure, a gaping wound I never faced. A wound that demanded a reckoning. Suddenly, the shadows screamed louder, their relentless winds howling with furious desperation. You dare invoke the Father? He abandoned you, wielder of light. I stumbled back, the pain of betrayal wrapping around me like a noose. But as I swayed, I glanced at Jake, who steadied me with a fierce grip, a lifeline amidst the chaos. You have to make a choice, Jonah. He shouted, urgency threading through every syllable. Faith surged between us, igniting embers of unshakable resolve. I had not only the burden of unveiling my own truths but also the responsibility of pulling Jake from the precipice of despair. Mom, please. I pled, desperation coating my voice. I won't let the shadows win. Just then, a surge of memories crashed over me, each illuminating my mind like the motifs of a restless dream. I remembered laughter resonating from family dinners, warmth wrapped around birthday celebrations, the laughter that shattered on that fateful day when the door swung shut behind my father's retreating figure, leaving emptiness in its wake. That I have to face it, I murmured, addressing not just her flickering visage but the very essence of what her existence symbolized. The past can't hold me captive any longer. I was a child then, but am not anymore. With that acknowledgement, I felt a warmth igniting within my soul, a beacon of light building deeply within me, urging me to align with my deepest fears. I turned to Jake, who met my gaze with an understanding that anchored me in this dark storm. We needed to find the truth together, he echoed, his voice a lifeline when the shadows crashed against us once more, a tumult of despair shrieking against the veil of truth I sought to unveil. With an outstretched hand, I drew in the powerful energy swirling around us, merging it with the light we created. The shadows recoiled momentarily amidst our defiance, but the tempest of darkness raged fiercer as the ground continued to fractal around us, threatening to swallow us whole. Embrace your truth, Mara's voice came softly, cutting through the chaos as though she were right beside us. Let love for each other and from the past empower you to break free. As the shadows lunged again, I felt the connection surge between Jake and me, a raw pulsating truth sustaining us. I took a breath, feeling the pull of both light and darkness, trembling in the clarity of the moment. Let's do this, I said with newfound conviction, but just as we began to push against the shadows, a booming crack echoed through the crypt, and the ground split apart violently, creating a chasm between us, a divide steep and treacherous. I reached for Jake, my fingers stretching desperately to close the gap, but all reason dissipated in a shroud of chaos. Jonah! Jake's cry pierced my heart, and before I could respond, the shadows surged, filling the widening void with swirling tendrils that grew like a sentient creature, threatening to consume us whole. In that moment, a blinding flash enveloped both of us, a force that propelled me forward, hurtling me into the abyss, while Jake was pulled back, unable to cross into the light I yearned to claim. No! I screamed as darkness spilled forth, swallowing Jake's presence from view, leaving my heart shrouded in cold despair. I was left standing alone on one precipice, while Jake disappeared into the consuming shadows on the other, the echoes of our love clashing violently against the reality that our destinies were splintering anew. The specter of loss loomed closer, and I realized we were both prisoners of the shadows, each grappling with the fragments of our past. And here, the truth lingered, a promise wrapped in uncertainty, a glimmer of hope buried beneath the shadows that now darkened my heart. As I teetered on the edge, grasping at fading remnants of what had been and what could still be, I knew then that the choices to come would not only define my fate but perhaps the fate of every shadow cast in the wake of unspent love. The journey was far from over, and whether I could reclaim Jake would remain an unanswered question hanging precariously in the balance of fragile light. The air around me thickened with despair, twisting and curling like the shadows that now cloaked the space where Jake had stood. Above the chasm, lingering traces of our connection flickered like dying stars, painfully aware of their inevitable extinguishment. I could still hear his voice echoing in my mind, urging me to fight, to seek the truth, and amidst the tumult of emotions crashing through me, that urge remained a brilliant thread, a color illuminated against the dark. Please, I whispered, my throat tight with emotion. I can't lose you. Silence enveloped me, heavy and suffocating. My heart began to pound anew, rhythmically echoing the uncertainty that now spiraled into despair. But nestled in the gnawing fear was a deep-rooted belief if I had ventured this far, perhaps the shadows still held answers, truths waiting to be unveiled. I took a step back from the precipice and faced the flickering light of my mother one last time. "You must tell me what I need to know." My voice trembled, a plea swallowed by the overwhelming dread. Jonah, her spectral figure began to coalesce once more, flickering like a candle in the wind. "The shadows feed on your pain, your unanswered questions. To confront them, to reveal the truth of your father and why he left, you must first heal the wounds within. In that healing lies the key to reuniting with Jake. Healing. I had long buried that word beneath layers of grief and resentment. What would it take to dig through those layers? I felt the edges of my heart ache with unanswered questions. Questions I had silenced for so long, allowing them to fester beneath a mask of indifference. Gathering a breath, I inhaled the luminescence that emanated from her figure, and with a fierce determination, I began to dig through my past. Why did he leave? The question unfolded in my heart, morphed into a mantra as I recalled fractured memories of my childhood, moments both vibrant and haunting, holding fragments of truth like shards of broken glass. As memories surged, I began to grasp the edges of my father's departure. I saw my mother collapsing under the weight of unspoken sorrow, and at once, the night my father vanished surged in vivid clarity. A storm-laden night, filled with the promise of unending rain. It was as if the world itself mourned his absence. I felt a warmth against my cheek and realized the light within me was pulsing, igniting a thread of compassion for my father, whom I blamed for so long. I could see his struggle, the man trying to find solace amid his own demons. Perhaps he had not abandoned me but had succumbed first to the shadows that carried him away. The shadows hissed around me, agitated by the growing light radiating from my resolve. "You dare to understand?" they taunted, their voices lacing through the stillness. "He is lost, as you are. Embrace the darkness, it is your only path." "No," I declared defiantly. "You may have taken my father, but you will not consume me." With that affirmation, I reached for the memories, allowing their warmth to wash over me. Each moment I clung to fortified the light in my heart, a recognition that healing stemmed not from amnesia but from embracing the tapestry of my past, the joy and the sorrow, the love and the loss. As I walked closer to the chasm, I called out to Jake, willing the endless void to carry my voice to him. "I'll find you. I promise." In the midst of my resolve, something shifted in the air, a subtle change that pricked the silence. Just as I stood on the edge, my heart racing with fear and determination, the darkness trembled. From its depths, a form began to rise, a figure cloaked in shadows, its features indistinct yet familiar. "Father?" I gasped, disbelief mingling with hope. The figure loomed large as the fog began to clear, revealing the contours of a man I scarcely recognized, yet instinctively felt drawn to. "Is it really you, Jonah?" His voice came through a haze, laden with regret and sorrow that wrapped around my heart tight as the shadows themselves. "I never wanted to hurt you." Staring into the very embodiment of my past, I felt an overwhelming surge of emotions rise within me. Anger, confusion, and pain contested for dominance but were immediately quelled by a deeper longing for understanding. "Why did you leave me? Why didn't you ever come back?" The shadows writhed around us, tethered to his presence as if feeding off the tumult of my unleashed emotions. But within their wretched grasp, I felt a flicker, an unexpected warmth igniting between us, as our broken connection began to spark anew. "I thought it was for the best," he stammered, his voice cracking under the weight of emotion. "My demons were too great, and I carried a burden I didn't know how to fight. I feared I would only bring you down, but you did leave me," I cried, feeling the weight of the years stretching before us like a void. "You didn't give me a chance to understand. You never let me fight alongside you." His shadowy demeanor softened ever so slightly, revealing eyes that reflected deep sorrow. "I wish we had fought together, Jonah. I didn't think you could handle the truth. I didn't want to drag you into the darkness of my world, yet here I am, standing on the edge of it," I replied, feeling the shadows closing around us and the pulsating fear of loss flooding back. "I've searched for you in every shadow, every crack of my heart. I need to know why it happened, why you vanished. Just as the words left my lips, the shadows lunged fiercely, trying to envelop us both. Panic gripped me, but a vibrant thread of resolve connected me to my father and the memories I had unearthed. I pushed against the encroaching darkness, channeling the light sparking within. Jonah. The urgency in my father's tone ignited the air around us, making the shadows writhe but not relent. The truth is dangerous, but it's your only ally against the darkness. My resolve solidified, trembling like a fragile leaf in the wind. Before I could reach out to my father, another eruption of chaos tore through the chasm, flinging him back into the shadows from whence he came. No! I screamed in despair, watching as his form faded, the shadows swallowing his figure whole, and then, a realization crashed through me like a tidal wave. He had discovered the truth, the knowledge that could once again illuminate the darkness. Would facing my father's demons unlock the door to Jake? Fight! I pleaded, a fresh wave of determination surging through my chest as I stood on the edge of the abyss. Fight with me. In the silence that followed, a glimmer of my father's essence flickered in the shadows, a promise hanging palpably in the air. And somewhere deep in the distance, I felt an answer pulse back through the darkness, a distant echo of Jake's voice reaching out to me, still, unwavering through the chaos I now faced alone. Remember, Jonah, my father's voice echoed. You are more powerful than the shadows, the light within you is the only answer. A terrifying clarity rushed through me, awakening possibilities hidden deeper than I had dared to dream. Yet, as the shadows surged again, I could feel the weight of the question still pressing against my heart. Would I be able to reclaim the light, not just for myself but for Jake as well? I stood at the edge, emotions crashing through me like the relentless tide, aware now that the journey was fraught with choices still to be made, choices that would unravel not just the relationship with my father but also the fragile connection with Jake, who still lingered in the darkness, waiting for the truth to find its way to freedom. There was no escaping the shadows, nor the battles that lay ahead. But I knew this much: the fight for love, truth, and reunion had only just begun, and I could already feel the ground on which I stood quaking underfoot, shifting as the greatest revelation loomed ahead. Underneath the tumult and unyielding shadows, a chill crept through the chasm, whispering reminders of the pain that tethered me to my past. The pulse of despair grew ever stronger, each heartbeat echoed like an ancient rhythm, a reminder of the emptiness left behind in my father's abrupt departure. Yet I stood there, trembling on the precipice of revelation, knowing that the answers I sought were layered beneath the turmoil enveloping me. I closed my eyes, and the faint memory of Jake's laughter danced through my mind, a soft melody entwined with the strain of my heart. I remembered his smile, bright and unyielding, illuminating even the darkest crevices of my life. Wisdom flowed through me now. If I was to regain him, to protect him at all costs, I had to confront the shadows, not merely as adversaries but as manifestations of my own fears. The darkness writhed, and I felt it pressing against me, an entity alive with the feasting urges of loss and regret. Yet amid those shadows, hope flickered, warm, gentle, and insistent. With every deep breath, I harnessed that flicker and clutched it like a lifeline. I will not falter, I murmured to myself, then willed the truth forward. I need to see the truth. The shadows recoiled, hissing at my defiance, but I pressed on, fueled by memories that overlaid my heart. Thoughts of Jake rushed back, a flood of moments wrapped in sheer, awe-inspiring love. He was my anchor, the compass that steadied my course through grief's tempest. No more running. No more hiding. In the wake of my resolve, the air thickened, swirling with fragments of my father's past, confessions that lay buried beneath layers of shame. A sudden rush of wind swept through, tossing fragments of visions my way. I caught fleeting glimpses of my childhood, the warmth of his left hand intertwined with my own, kneeling in the garden as he taught me how to plant seeds. I remembered the way he had looked at my mother when he thought no one was watching, a flicker of love overshadowed by worry etched on his face. But then those memories twisted, feeding into the noise of his departure, the jagged edge of a jagged wound I had yearned to heal. The ground beneath me rumbled ominously, announcing the shadow's growing rage. Face the truth, Jonah. You are part of it. The voices rose and fell like the crashing waves against nerves frayed by fear, clawing at the essence of what I sought. But then, beneath that chaos, another gentle energy emerged, a warmth from the depths of my heart, one that would not flicker or die even amidst despair. What if all those painful memories could be transformed into strength? What if I embraced my father's truth, flawed yet faithful, to unravel the darker threads entwined around my existence? Jake! With a voice that resonated, I called out, my true purpose eclipsing all doubt. For you, I will fight. I will unveil the darkness. I felt my heart steady as my soul ignited with fervor, channeling a brilliant light that outshone the shadows. In that instant, as clarity surged through me, a long-buried thought emerged, a vision of a locket I had kept by my bedside since childhood. The locket belonged to my mother and contained a faded photo of my father and her, chains heavy with memory, but also love. It was a piece of him shed tucked away after his disappearance, my last tangible connection before I was left feeling utterly abandoned. The realization settled in me with ferocious intensity, perhaps the locket was more than just a relic of the past. It could hold secrets spoken in whispers and half-formed truths. Something stirred inside me, a quest igniting a need to confront what had been locked away. If Jake was out there, battling his own shadows, maybe the locket was the bridge I needed to reach him. Suddenly, the shadows surged, dark and ravenous, as if sensing my intention. You think the truth will save you? They crooned, their voices spiraling around me like tendrils of despair. What lies at the heart of that locket will bring only sorrow. No, I shouted defiantly, standing firm against the encroaching darkness. What lies within that locket may be the key to freedom, not just for me, but for Jake. With that declaration, a fierce gust swept through the chasm, and the shadows momentarily recoiled, revealing intimate glimpses, a glimpse of Jake in the depths of darkness, his face twisted in anguish, reaching out toward me through an impenetrable veil. I could see him struggling against a torrent of swirling grief, his eyes widening with fear as he perceived the strength glowing within my chest. It was as though he felt the pull of our bond, desperately seeking the light that lingered. Jonah. His voice, fractured and desperate, echoed back to me, reverberating through the despair. The connection spread through the chasm like ripples in a pond, a pulse swelling against the impending shadows. Don't give up. Find me. Every part of me ached to bridge the distance, to unravel the darkness that sought to separate us, but the shadows pushed back fiercely, intent on claiming my fear and uncertainty as their own. I narrowed my gaze, focusing on the image of the locket, the power it could hold if I dared to retrieve it. A flicker of determination surged within me. Fight! I urged myself, stepping into the darkness rather than away from it. Fight for him, for what we could be once again. But just as I felt the ground beneath me solidifying, a foundation shifting, cracks opening wide, the air grew heavy, and I realized a new dimension of the battle was unraveling before me. A voice coiled through the shadows, a familiar whisper. I'll show you the way if you're willing to take the risk. In that moment, uncertainty coursed through my veins. I recognized it not just as a chance to find answers but as a harbinger of unimagined consequences. What awaited me if I chose to obey? Would it lead to Jake or deeper into the abyss? The shadows fell closer, thickening around me, as I stood at a treacherous crossroads. It was a choice layered in vulnerabilities and hope, a leap into the unknown, not just to reclaim Jake but to confront the haunting echoes of my past. Trust your heart, I murmured softly, instinctively understanding that the truth I sought was as much about my father as it was about the love that bound Jake and me together, unraveling hidden layers of pain, only to expose something beautiful beneath. With uncertainty thrumming through me, I chose to step forward, propelled by a relentless yearning for truth, the choice echoing across the chasm, reverberating just as strongly in Jake's heart. What I felt in those final moments was the promise of revelations yet to come, and just as I felt warmth rising against the gnawing cold, the shadows surged once more, intricate and fierce, intertwining my fate with the unknown. What choice awaited me at the end of this darkness? Would it bring me closer to the light, or plunge me deeper into the shadows? As I stood at the edge of that chasm, the swirling shadows seemed to pulse and breathe around me, mirroring my racing heart. Every lesson I had gathered, every unspoken grief hovered in the air, wrapping around my thoughts tightly, letting me know that I had to confront not just the darkness outside but the darkness that nested within my own heart. The shadows hissed, their swirling forms demanding that I succumb to their chaos. "Jonah," I whispered to myself, "this is not the end." I felt the weight of my heartbeat synchronize with the distant echoes of Jake's voice, still lingering somewhere in that inky abyss. "Don't give up." It became a sacred mantra, burning like a flame in the deepest corners of my soul, reminding me of our bond, our promise to face this together. And yet I hesitated, fear gripping me. What if stepping forward into this darkness meant I would truly lose Jake? What price would the shadows demand for answers? I felt my breath catch as memory sent a sharp pang through my chest, illuminating the void created by all the words left unspoken, conversations that never took place between my father and me. "Remember, people are shaped by their fears, as well as their loves," my mother's voice echoed softly in my mind, swirling with my swirling thoughts. "Each secret has its tale." Jonah faced them, the ground shook again beneath me, and just as the shadows darted closer, I squared my shoulders and called out, "I seek the truth." Embracing the vulnerability of this revelation, I stepped forward, feeling the air around me crackle with tension. With each step toward the swirling abyss, the shadows flinched as if recoiling from the very intention of my heart. They unfurled, twisting and contorting in a desperate attempt to preserve their darkness. "You think you can break us?" A chorus of anguished voices rose, a cacophony that echoed my deepest fears. "Together, we can," I shouted defiantly, abandoning all hope of retreat. As if my words created a sinkhole within the fabric of despair, a luminescent surge burst into existence. A doorway formed from the light that emanated from my heart, a clear reflection of my love for Jake, for my mother, for the truth itself. The shadows screeched and writhed viciously, but I felt their hold on me wane. The light beckoned, revealing the glimmer of familiar sights, echoes of moments captured in time. I saw images of childhood laughter, family dinners, and, yes, the confrontation that had twisted my world into something dark and unwelcoming. It was followed by images of my father, his warm, caring smile, but one shadowed by the haze of remorse. "Face the truth, Jonah. Embrace the light." Mara's wispy voice drifted through the chaos, pulsing through me with an unshakable force, and then it hit me. If the very essence of the truth lay within my father, within the love we had shared, the shadow of his memory fused into the kernel of my identity. Slowly, I bent down and brushed the surface of the ground beneath me, channeling that warmth which sparked hope within. "Dad." I cried out, yearning for his presence. "Where are you? I won't let fear destroy what we have left." The shadows lunged again, forcing me back as I peered deeper into the chasm. It felt like a scream broken free in that moment, as if my call echoed through the layers of darkness that momentarily quieted. I felt a warmth envelop me, a glow that signified the presence of long-last love cast in shadow, and then, enveloped in an ethereal light, my father began to emerge, illuminated by the shimmering warmth I longed for all along. "Jonah," he called out, his voice thick with nostalgia, "you've grown up to be brave, to fight against darkness. The shadows want to keep us apart, they thrive on your doubts." As he came closer, I felt a twinge in my heart, unaware that love could shine so brightly even after years of absence. "I was lost once," he continued, tears glistening in his shadowy form, searching in the dark where no light existed. "But your love will guide the way back." A rush of recognition flooded through me. This wasn't just about the past anymore. I understood that the shadows fed on fear, sorrow, and regret, but they were also no match for the vulnerability that blossomed in love. "Then let's fight together." My voice reached a crescendo, a call to battle that freed us from the hold of the shadows. I could feel Jake resonating somewhere, desperation blossoming into fierce resolve that traveled through the flickering echoes much like the love that tethered us. "Together," my father replied, and the shadows screamed then, a clawing sound that reverberated around us, tearing into the shroud of darkness. But just as the tides of chaos began to shift, that connection splintered, moments spiraling into crumbling reality before my eyes. "Find your truth, Jonah. You must channel your love." Disappeared like a phantom, a dark void closing his form in. Off balance, I staggered, the warmth of his voice lingering in the air. Jake! The sound of his name leapt from my lips in urgency. Hold on, I'm coming. I pushed through the veil, forcing every ounce of light within me to shine brighter, manifesting with desperate clarity. I knew the light would lead me to him, it had to. As I dove into the swirling shadows, I felt the shadows crashing into me, a tempest of fury and despair as they coiled tightly against my body, the familiar warmth of Jake's smile illuminating the corners of my memory. Hold on, I'll never stop fighting for you. I called out, and with that, I reached for the light inside, infusing it into the darkness as lumens from my heart spilled out. And there, lit by the intense glow, I caught a glimpse of Jake, his silhouette entangled, struggling against the tendrils of darkness that latched onto him. Jonah! He cried out, the anguish palpable, sending chills down my spine. I am here. I lunged forth, my heart pounding, reaching out towards him amid the chaos, battling not just the physical darkness, but the weight of the unanswered questions that tethered us apart. We're not helpless. We can do this. I was no longer just fighting for myself, I was fighting for him, for the future we never had the chance to explore together. Light cascaded around us, illuminating the shadows that sought to drown us. I felt buoyed by love, a force that pierced the deepest shadows and shattered their hold. And then it happened, the shadows recoiled as undulating waves pushed back, some semblance of order conquered the wild chaos, and I found Jake's hand, fingers intertwining like lifelines. I won't let you go. I yelled, my voice carried through the air with conviction as we pulled together, hearts beating in rhythm, desperate yet hopeful. Then the world erupted in light before me, a blinding surge that fused with our love and shattered the tendrils grasping at Jake. In that moment of clarity, time felt suspended, the shadows dissolving into the echoes of their despair. Together we pulled free, dancing defiantly against the darkness, and when we emerged, gasping and breathless, into the illuminated void, the shadows that once haunted us were gone. Jonah! We did it! Jake's voice rang victorious, bursting forth with realization, relief flooding between us like a cool balm soothing old wounds. As we embraced, the weight of uncertainty fell away, replaced with warmth and understanding. The remnants of the past lay heavy yet tender beneath us, stepping stones leading to our future, intertwined in a tapestry threaded with light. The journey had brought us through the darkness, leaving behind the echoes of pain and shadows of guilt, and in its wake, I understood the true lesson, that love, when faced amid the struggles of the heart, shone brighter, stronger than the greatest fear. With newfound clarity, I turned to Jake, eyes brimming with light. No more hiding, right? We face everything together. Together, he echoed back, a promise binding us anew. We had fought through the shadows and emerged stronger, now armed with truth and a fierce connection that would forever illuminate our paths, guiding not only ourselves but the echoes of our families lost in despair. And standing there, hearts united and healing, I realized that sometimes, it is only in facing the darkness that we understand the vastness of our love. I turned and smiled at Jake, knowing that with him by my side, we could face any shadow, armed with the power of redemption. You are my light, I said, sealing the promise in his eyes, a vow etched into the fabric of who we were. Then, with certainty swelling beneath the surface, I added, no matter how dark it gets. As we stepped forward together into a future illuminated by love and acceptance, I knew then that we were free, released from the shackles of past sins, marching hand in hand toward a destiny we would write together, as one. And just like that, the shadows remained behind us, not as chains holding us captive, but as whispers of a life we had transcended, a life woven into the brick and mortar of our story, a victorious tale of love reborn. In the end, it was simply love that guided us home.